The video game industry has changed in a multitude of ways ever since it first hit the mainstream in the 90s. I mean, you can take a gander way back at Pawn and think, wow, how could a medium where this is cutting edge ever grow into something like this, or even this? In just a few decades, too. Ever since its rise in popularity in the 90s, video games have been subjected to journalistic bullying without much reasoning or sufficient information. Now, I could go on all day long about how much people like to pick on the media. I mean, this isn't anything new. Just ask music, comic books, television, film, and books. Yeah, even books. Think of it as a sort of initiation. The common consensus seems to be that anything children like is and that hate won't really go away until the children who enjoyed those things are adults themselves, making the same mistakes their parents did. Now, all digressions aside, the big claim that's made about video games is that they encourage violence, especially with bang bang gun guns. Now, let me get this out of the way. I do not like games with guns very much. Not because I think they're too violent, no. Just because they kind of bore me. It's oversaturation, you know? Also, I will not use the educational games excuse because I think that is both lazy and makes somebody look desperate for ideas. Also,
please give me your little toadies.
Educational games are boring. Would you like to play one right now? No? Why? 'Cause they're boring!
You get another turn!
Like I said earlier though, games eventually became graphically powerful enough to take on more mature aesthetics. To the dismay of soccer moms everywhere, mind you.
Trash. It's just, this is trash.
So terrible.
Hate it. Hate it.
Why would they even make something like this?
Just take a look-see over here at Mortal Kombat. While silly looking now, it was accused of being way too violent and realistic for children to play back when it was first released in 1992. This was a drastic change from games such as Super Mario World. And as a response to this and many other similar cases, the ESRB or the
Peggy's
system in other parts of the world were established, so minors wouldn't be able to buy mature video games without their parents' consent. So all of our problems are solved. Wrong! And for two reasons. One, kids are little monsters. If they want something, they're gonna get it. A rating system isn't gonna stop them from playing the game, just like the rating system in movies doesn't see them from watching R-rated films. There are ways around rules, and kids are pretty good at figuring them out. If you want proof of this, just go on Xbox Live and play a mature game. You will hear children saying naughty words, no less. And point two, we shouldn't just be talking about children. Adults play games too, although nobody cares if an adult is exposed to violence because the adult world is already horrid. No, the problem with adult gamers and some children to that degree, although parents should counter this, but they're all lazy, is addiction. But I'll stop verbally bouncing all over the place and stick to one subject at a time, okay? Okay, thank you. Children X violence and mature content. There have been many claims that children are inspired to become more violent and even killers from video games. Now, I'm calling BS. For starters, back in 2004, the American Medical Association did a study on the trend of youth violence and video game sales. In the year 1993, there was $3.2 billion worth of sales from video games in the US. 10 years later, in 2003, the total amount of video game sales revenue was $7 billion. Now keep in mind that gaming during this time was primarily dominated by the youngins, and that game prices were consistent between these two time periods, if not more expensive in the 90s due to cartridge-based systems. Alright, here's the funny thing. As the MAA noted, if video game sales had more than doubled, then why didn't youth violence have a similar trend instead of decreasing? I wonder. Also, not all video games are like this. In 2010, it was reported that only 16% of games are rated M, and this was before the huge flurry of mobile games, so keep that in mind. Also, 84% of video game purchasers are over the age of 18, even if they are just a parent. And lastly, for children, there's guns. Now, riddle me this. How is pressing a trigger on a controller supposed to teach kids how to use and kill with a gun? You do realize that a simple toy like a Nerf gun is a much better representation of a firing arm. Because, oh, I don't know, it's in the shape of a gun, fires physical projectiles, is used against others, and comes in varying shapes and sizes. A controller teaches you about as much as a box of Cheerios. And I have no idea how a controller would teach you how to lose the morality to commit murder, but that's just me. And yes, you may be asking yourself, bah, why do games even need to have guns and violence in the first place? Well, the reason violence is so common in not only games, but every medium in general, is because violence is closely linked to conflict, which is a common theme in most stories and in life. Guys, when a kid says he did something bad because of a video game, the little turd is just trying to shift the blame. They're trying to find a scapegoat. Video games being too violent is a stereotype, and stereotyping is never a good thing. It can actually make you look quite the fool. Here's an example. Way, but not that far away, back in 2007, after the tragic shooting at Virginia Tech, many TV spokespersonnel such as Dr. Oz and Oprah insisted that the killer, named, I don't even know, was probably a hardcore gamer. But when his dorm was searched, there was no evidence of any video game systems or games. In risk of sounding a little bit cheesy, it looks like they may have jumped the gun there a bit. Hey, sorry I had to break the flow of my video, but as much as I'd like to keep being goofy and stuff, I felt that even though addiction isn't that common, not at all, it's a little more serious than child violence. So as much as I'd like to stay all wacky, I'm gonna take a more serious approach to this. So bear with me. Now the thing about video games, on the outside, this is all you're doing, pressing a button and watching a screen. That's like TV, only you're interacting with it. Now, for most games, I can't see why anyone would be addicted. I mean, you're playing Mario. Wow, jumping's fun. Go outside and jump? Blah! No way, Jose. I'm gonna do it all day. It doesn't really make sense to me, and I think if someone gets addicted to your standard game, something's going up in here, not on the screen. Now, I do admit though, technically there are some games that are designed to keep players coming back. World of Warcraft, pretty much any Farmville clone, etc, etc. And what you do with these dastardly games? You walk away, and if you can't do it alone, ask for some help. That's all there is to it. It's not really something unique to games. People get addicted to food, to gambling, to a bunch of other stuff that's legal. So games aren't really unique in this sense, per se. Alright, and now for something a little tacked on. As an interactionist might say, games do serve a purpose. I mean, online you're connecting and socializing with friends. They serve as entertainment. For little kids especially, they can be used as education. Now, I know I just ranted on educational games, but come on. In elementary school, math last year was awesome. And something people are probably gonna crucify me for if I don't mention is that they can increase hand-eye coordination. I mean, at least you're doing something. Don't know how useful this is, but hey, whatever I can get, you know? So in short, do video games have a negative effect on people? Unless you somehow get suckered into addictive games, which is not very common at all, they really have no negative sides, and positive sides to boot. So really, I'd say they're more useful to our society than detrimental. So my final score for video games is a 9.5 out of 10. A mask-raising, Yoshi Goblin good score if I don't say so myself.